Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for attending our Zoom training today. All right. In particular, we are really excited for today's session because we are rolling out a brand new configuration. Right. Give me a moment. I shared the poster. All right. I believe right now you should be seeing my screen. Right. Okay. So yeah. So we're really excited about today's session because it's about introducing our brand new configuration, which is Feel Great Unimate Plus. All right, so we have been working really hard to get this in. All right, in fact, in Asia, we are one of the first few that have this additional option. And most of the Asian countries, I believe, only have the default option, which is the 2 BIOS Life S/balance or Unimate 30 of that. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, in fact, that is the most traditional method that we have been on Feel Great, and it has helped many people. All right, so no issues is still on our current website. All right, but we believe that this is a great opportunity. All right, in fact, I view this new configuration very positively because when you give people options, there's more doors, right? You're able to meet needs more specifically. In fact, I think that for those who are currently on your Feel Great journey, this new configuration may also be beneficial for you. All right. And for example, if you are someone who have very stable blood works already, and you are ready to take on the challenge and to try out something new and to just go another distance, all right, with your metabolic health, there's no issues if you want to switch. All right. And you want to go back to your default, it's also fine. All right, so we are offering flexibility and giving people agency to customize their Feel Great plan according to their needs, depending on their seasons of life. So I am really excited about it, and I'm pretty sure that it will also benefit you and your loved ones as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's go right into this. Now, it's really important that we understand what is insulin. Okay, because it is the core hormone that we'll be talking about throughout this presentation. Okay, in fact, Feel Great really is about managing this hormone, right? And I think that because of how it's being used, sometimes people have a really skewed perception about insulin that they think is the villain or bad hormone. But in reality, insulin is actually a God-given hormone and it serves a really important purpose in our body. Right? So let's see how it works. Now, when sugar is released from food, it has to enter the cell, correct? So your sugar won't go into your cell like automatically. It needs a signal, right? And someone to enable this process to happen. So this is where insulin comes into the picture. It serves as signal for your sugar to usher in your sugar, all right? And as it binds insulin to this receptor site, this is where sugar can enter into your cell and produce energy. So as you can imagine, this is a really critical process because without this, your cell cannot produce energy. And this is where, instances like type 1 diabetes, it's dangerous actually because this is an autoimmune disease where their immune system attacks their pancreatic cell. So over time, the pancreas will lose its ability to produce insulin. Right? So if they don't have insulin jab, eventually their cells are going to starve. All right, and going to have hypo and this kind of issues can happen. So insulin on its own accord, it is a really important hormone, right? But the problem happens is when we have too much of it. All right, it's not the hormone itself, but too much of this is circulating, right? It's the amount that's there. And once that's happening, right, our cell becomes desensitized. And it's just like how someone is able to develop spice tolerance. If someone who is very beginning in eating spicy food, a bit of spice would trigger their reaction. Oh, so spicy. But for a very seasoned spice eater, like the most spicy food would not even bring any reaction to them. They're like, huh, spicy, man. So the same thing is also happening in our body. If there's insulin always there, your cell becomes desensitized and it loses the ability to detect insulin, and there may be problems with your receptor site. So because of this, insulin can't bind. So if insulin cannot bind, that means that your sugar cannot enter your cell. So it's going to be circulating in the blood. So this is where insulin resistance happens, right? Where your body resists the effect of insulin, that is resisting insulin. I don't want to, have anything to do with it. So this is where it becomes a problem. Now, what we see here is a graph that charts someone who has type 2 diabetes. And this is the typical time that happens over time, right? And this is the increment of their sugar level with that duration. So with this, okay, it makes sense that, this person's sugar level increases over time. It's perfectly logical. But this is a very one-dimensional view on this. And if you don't put in insulin hormone, it does not tell you the full story. Now, when we put in the insulin level, it gives you a much clearer picture about what happens in our body before the onset of diabetes. So as you can see here, insulin has increased a lot earlier, okay, before that, right? And it comes to a certain juncture, and that is where your sugar level will start to increase. And eventually, you will have a certain time point where you are officially diagnosed with. So if we were to look at, and we were to split this graph into two different sections, we can see that there is a phase where it's still reversible. And this is what we call insulin resistance, where the insulin hormone has elevated to a certain level. And the sugar level has not quite reached that level yet. But eventually it will peak and your sugar level will catch up with it. So this is where we officially term this person as type 2 diabetes. So this is where it's really important that we understand that a person have type 2 diabetes is not just today, all right? If he goes to the clinic, it's not something that happened today. It's something that has actually happened for as long as 10 to 15 years. And it's during that time that they should have done something, because to reverse that is a lot easier compared to you are already diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So what happens is that a person will have high insulin first, where there's high amounts of insulin circulating in their body, and that will go into a stage where we call insulin resistant phase, right? And where, it has peaked to a certain level, and once it has crossed that threshold, this is where we call it as type 2 diabetes. So this is not just something that we map it up. In fact, it's been backed up by many research that says that insulin resistance happened 10 to 15 years before the onset of type 2 diabetes. So it's really important that we look into this hormone, okay, because it's not just only about diabetes, right? In fact, it has a lot to do with fat, right? The growth of fat cells. Now, it's interesting to look at this graph because I think most of us here would know, right, that America is definitely well known in the area of obesity and diabetes because of population size and their stature. They're generally much bigger than Asian counterparts. But for those who are in Singapore, all right, we know that most of us, in fact, we don't look as big as those, in the Western counterparts. We are leaner, we are more petite. Okay, obesity rates isn't that much of a problem, but what concerns me is really diabetes, because this is more dangerous. People will go undiagnosed, and people will go on walking on the street without knowing that they have a problem. So there's a lot of undiagnosed diabetes cases where they totally are unaware about what is happening in their body. And needless to say, if you are from Malaysia or Brunei, the obesity and diabetes rate is just like the US. All right, Malaysia is like number one in Asia, so okay, all right, Malaysia boleh in that sense. So why is it so different between two countries? Right? And this is just another graph to show the prevalence that is these two regions. So in Singapore, we can see that it's a much higher rate of diabetes. In fact, there's still a significant amount that's not diagnosed, and compared to the United States, okay, that they are lower than Singapore. So I'm pretty sure Malaysia is not here, but it's up here in this list, right? So this show you that we are not as healthy as we think we are. So why is this happening? Because it doesn't make much sense, right? It's not logical. How can a country that is bigger have less problem than the country who is thinner? That's because the way we store fat is really different across ethnicities, right? Different race, you have a different genetic disposition and a different way that your fat will be stored. So for Asian countries, and especially in this region, we tend to store more central fat, okay? And even like Vietnamese, Thailand, okay, we all share the same gene, that our fat cells, they grow really big, and they don't split like the Western counterpart. Okay, Dr. Bigman has actually shared this before. But to make this more easier for you to understand is that the Western counterpart, their fats are more visible. They have subcutaneous fat, okay, what we call like fat that you can see more easily, like fat under your arm or your face. So it's pretty obvious if a person have gained weight, you can see it very clearly. But for Asian, we have this thing called hidden fat, that our fat will grow in such a way that it will hide under the surface. So this leads to a lot of central fat. And once there's a lot of central fat, right, it will then spread to the surrounding organs. So liver being the closest one under our, our abdomen, it will also have high liver. Hence, there's such thing as fatty liver. So more central fat, it leads to more visceral fat. Okay, central fat is basically abdominal fat, and a lot of them is visceral fat. And this is the more dangerous form of fat accumulation as compared to subcutaneous, which is under your skin and all that, right? And because of how our fat will hypertrophy, it leads to a lot more metabolic problems compared to the Western counterpart that may seem a lot more unhealthy than us. Okay, so these are the many studies that concur with what I've said just now. All right, many that says that compared to Europeans, Chinese and Southeast cohorts have a relatively greater amount of abdominal adipose tissue, and the difference is more pronounced with visceral fat. All right, so it's official that we are more unhealthy fat, all right, in terms of fat disposition, our fat percentage, and our visceral fat. So of course, we want to target this problem. It's a serious thing, and we want to look into how we can make it shrink. Okay, so before we know how to shrink that fat, we need to know what makes it grow, right? So if you don't know what makes it grow, then you do not know how to make it shrink. So there are a few key principles that you need to when we are, studying this subject. So what makes fat grow? It needs to have two major conditions. So it needs to have high insulin, followed by sufficient energy. So if your insulin is not high, but you have energy, can you believe it? Actually, our fat will not grow. But then if you have high insulin and you have that energy just floating around there, your fat will grow. Okay, this is because without insulin, your fat do not know what to do. All right, our fat is not very smart. All right, the fat cells are not very smart, so it's very dependent on a signal. So insulin is a very important signal for fat cells to grow. So insulin tells fat cells to grow. Then, of course, this is where your fat cell need to use certain resources, sugar, right, to fuel it to become bigger. So from here, we understand that it's not as simple as just calories, how much calories that you're taking, and if you don't put insulin into the picture, it's not really a full picture, all right? So it's a lot more complicated than that. Now, all right, so how do we lower both of these things so that we're able to have a much healthier fat percentage? All right, so there's two main concepts. Okay, number one, we have to control carbs, and number two, we have to fast frequently. Okay, why is this important? Because honestly, we're really eating too much. Okay, so why are we focusing on carb? All right, and not so much on the others? Because, all right, you can see here fat and protein, they generally don't spike insulin that much. Okay, they don't trigger insulin to spike so high. Okay, it's unlike these other two. But if once you take carbohydrate, okay, it increases insulin up to 3 times, comparing to fat. And it lasts for as long as 4 hours. So this is the reason why with high carb intake, it is very damaging to the body. And what is worrisome is really the percentage of carb that we're eating globally. All right, this is a very worrying trend, and especially for Asians, I think we can't quite avoid because it's very much ingrained in our culture, and it's also the cheapest option to take when you're out, right? And it's also the most tastiest things to eat sometimes, right? Because of that, we are not the only country, like it is a global problem. So because of this, how can we still eat carbs at the same time manage our insulin level? So this is where we need to have something really important that can help us solve this problem. Yeah, and this is just another visual that shows how much we eat and how our body is just able to go down the insulin level, right? If we are not eating something, we are drinking something. So now we are saying 16-hour fast and 8 hours eating window, right? Honestly, I think we are eating 16 hours and we are only fasting 8 hours, which is the time we are sleeping. Okay, so there's definitely a problem. All right. Now, so this is where Feel Great comes in and it does a really important role here. All right. So Feel Great addresses the root cause with these two really important drugs. Okay. And with that, it helps to control carbohydrate, lower insulin, and it helps to shrink fat. Now, balance. Okay, so balance is a really important component because it addresses straight to the heart, which is the carbohydrate. In Unicity proprietary blend, and we have 7 different fiber types. So this is not your ordinary formula. In fact, why we choose soluble fiber is because it is one of the most well documented and it has been around for decades. So it's very safe. In fact, it's also very effective at the same time. Okay, so this is the perfect solution to curb our carbohydrate intake, okay, since we are so chronically dependent on carbs, right? And without this, honestly, there's no way, okay, that we can, bring down our insulin, especially during time. Okay, it also have a supplementary effect to lower down our cholesterol level. So this is how it works. Okay, a little help goes a long way. So after eating, food becomes sugar, and if you don't take any carbs like slim, all of it get absorbed. And your sugar absorbs really fast, and it leads to a huge insulin spike. So by just taking balance or BioSlife S, okay, you have that cushion ready there. All right, that's ready to absorb anything that's excessive, and because of that, it's able to lower down subsequent sugar that is being absorbed in over time. All right, so it plays a really important role. Cut that, okay, it can even reduce blood sugar up to 8% and reduce total insulin spike up to 27%. Right, so this is very significant numbers, and if you were to take that cumulatively every single day, your body is going to thank you for it. Right, it's 20%, 20%. Okay, comparing to someone who totally don't take any protection during their meal time, the effect is going to be very detrimental. All right, so this is another research that we have done where balance before meal, the sugar is like really high, and after that, we can see a reduction of sugar post meal. Right, so this is why Unicity balance is really important. Okay, I don't think we can cut this out. This is still a really important product. Okay, and it serves a very important purpose because it helps to reduce blood sugar post meal, reduce sugar spike, and because of this, it also helps to reduce insulin spike as well. Okay, so having this cushion in our meal time especially could be life-saving. All right. Now, I want to spend a bit of time talking about this. I know it has been some time, okay, since we have talked about this, but this is actually very important. It's worth revisiting. Okay, so GLP-1, I think you all know that it's very famous, okay, and I think that people have accepted it a lot more in recent years. People are a lot more ready to admit, okay, last time when people are on GLP-1, they don't want to admit, oh, I'm not really on this and it. But now celebrities and high-profile figures are on the board really declaring and saying that, oh, I'm on GLP-1. Okay, so look, it's not just celebrities. Elon Musk also tried it, and even Serena Williams, okay, someone who's like so fit, he's also on GLP-1 agonist, all right? So these are all the things that they see outside. Oh, they look fabulous, fantastic. They seem like they've lost a lot of weight. But there's also a dark side to GLP-1 medication. So I'm not too sure if you know who is this, but this is Ozzy Osbourne's wife. She's Sharon Osbourne. Okay, they are also like another family that's very famous in the US. So she seems pretty good, right? Like in this picture. But post GLP-1 medication, she looks not good. All right, I don't know what happened, but I think that, and I read, they say that GLP-1 medicines, right, they tend to, when you lose weight, you tend to lose a lot of weight and a lot of fat from the face and from areas that not supposed to lose on, right? And you don't look good. It's not like a very natural weight loss because it's drugs and medication. So the way that the fat is being burned, it's not very proportional. And at the same time, she's also developed some kind of eating disorder. Okay, because GLP-1 medications, they really shrink your appetite and you totally don't feel like eating. So because of this, I think it has some psychological effect and she just can't get back her normal weight, you know. And from what I read, the muscle wasting is also very significant once you're on this GLP-1 medicine. So she just don't look good, right? So that is the dark side of this medication. So how does it work, right? People can see such drastic results in their body. Okay, first, it's a very strong appetite suppressant. So just like Sharon Osbourne, okay? And I have a friend who's also on GLP-1 meds, and she said that this medicine totally made her don't want to eat at all. Like imagine in one day, she only eat like 2 slices of pizza. I mean, that's what she told me. And after that, she's like totally full. And she totally don't want to eat. No wonder, like, you see those celebrity in 1 month can lose like 5 kg, right? So it's a really strong appetite suppressant. Okay, this is what happens in your body. Right? So this is our normal stomach with food here, right? So this is what you call normal gastric emptying, where your stomach empty the food. So by right, okay, all your food that's here should come out, all right, and it should empty lah. Basically, your stomach here should be empty after like 3 to 4 hours. It's fully digested. But for someone who has chronically been on this medicine, right, they are, because of this strong appetite suppressant, and not just only that, it works on their blood in an abnormal way, that the food sits very long inside, okay, and this sphincter is closed, so there's no way for your food to come out. So this is where there's a lot of problem, okay, like what Dr. Benjamin says, some of them, they have food stuck there for like 3 days, you know, food stuck here for 3 days, so they totally don't feel like eating, all right, and you have nausea, vomiting, and some severe cases it could lead to stomach paralysis. Okay, so even though it has this dark side or the side effect that it could even damage your stomach, but GLP-1 is still one of the highest valued drugs worldwide. Okay, it's still one of the highest demand, and due to the huge global demand of obesity and diabetes, I think it's more towards obesity, because I feel that diabetes management in the medical world, I think metformin is still quite effective, right? Metformin, and you know, there's so many different kinds of drugs to treat diabetes. When it comes to obesity, there really isn't any that is effective to treating obesity. Okay, there's one like the cut the stomach one. What's that called? Yeah, I can't recall that. Okay, gastric sleeve, right? But that's bad. So obesity is really a problem that many people face. Okay, look at Serena Williams. She's so fit, but yet she still have to use GLP-1, you know. So it means that a lot of people have this struggle about their fat percentage and just bringing their weight down in a healthy way. Okay, so there is a big concern here. Now, this is the market share just to show you, okay, how it looks. Okay, from now we are sitting here, but very soon we will reach the 200 over billion number. So it's only going to go up with time. And analysts say that GLP-1 will soon surpass cancer and immunology drugs to become the top-selling drug class globally. So do you see that? All right, it's quite funny, but it is true. I believe in that. Okay, even though cancer and all these immunology drugs are so much more critical, but I think obesity is even more of a need. Okay, and people all want to look good. Okay, there's no doubt about that. All right. But what happens, no matter what drugs, right? It's still a drug. Okay, comparing to food, drugs is still a drug. It's always going to be waste. Okay, and yes, it's 10 to 11 times more GLP-1 than food that we take. Okay, so as much as possible, we try not to touch this unless you are really in a very severe state. Okay, so if anything at all, it's our mission here in Unicity to find ways that we can encourage our body to produce our own GLP-1. Right? So of course, we talk about drugs just now, which I don't think that's what anybody on this call want to do today. So what can we do to increase GLP-1? All right, despite of its side effect, it is still a very powerful hormone. Okay, if not, people won't take the risk, okay, and be on this thing. So how can we like still have a lot of this in our body, but none of this side effect? So this is where, okay, feel great, and in particular, I want to touch more on Unimate, right? Because Unimate is something that we have done studies on, and the results have been impressive. And in fact, I would say that in the supplement world, there isn't many natural foods that can increase our naturally occurring GLP-1 as much as yerba mate. All right, if you really look at current literature, it's still very new area. So, and now actually, yerba mate is still one of the top in terms of natural food that can increase our existing GLP-1 level. So of course, we are not just any generic brand, right? We are Unicity. So because of our really ultra concentrated yerba mate, right, we are able to produce really amazing results through this research. So this is a control group where you drink water only, and this is with the yerba mate, right? So with yerba mate, it showed that you can increase up to twofold, all right, close to twofold of your existing GLP-1. Right, this is not medicine, by the way. This is just taking Unimate a day, all right, can give you this result. Okay, then of course, you know, knowing Dr. Ben, he's not satisfied with just one research study, right? Okay, so he continued to find out, okay, do we have any long-standing studies or not that can confirm that we have a much longer circulating GLP-1 level in our body? So hence he went on this mission and he just published another new study. Okay, so through this study, he found that not just only when you take Unimate increases, it even significantly increase the genetic expression, you know. Do you know how powerful is that? And I want to repeat, this is not the drug. This is just the natural food, okay, that can increase your genetic expression, you know. I think that's awesome, all right? That can lead to that kind of increase. Not just only that, it also significantly increase the hormone level of circulating GLP-1 in your body, making it that all of us who are on Unimate would have a much higher baseline of GLP-1 compared to someone who's just, you know, on some water, all right, or not taking Unimate. So I would say that, you know, what is on your hand, really, it's powerful. And the best thing is that it doesn't give you any of those side effects, right? Okay, and another thing I want to stress is this, okay, GLP-1 works on our fat cells, okay, we're going to go to it later, but it also does a really important role to accelerate the metabolic process in your body. Okay, as we know that insulin is a really key hormone when it comes to fat growth, right? So it's able to quicken your metabolic rate, okay, and how your body processes sugar and insulin. So this is how our normal blood sugar is like, okay, now. So 2 hours later, we will still have some insulin, hormone, and some sugar, right? But with GLP-1, it is like that accelerator. The more GLP-1 you have in your body, it helps your body to be more effective towards removing insulin and also cleaning out sugar in your bloodstream. So because of this, you know, it has a direct relationship towards lowering insulin levels in your body. Okay, so now they are trying to say that, okay, so they think that diabetes individuals also may have a deficiency in GLP-1, and that could be the reason why, you know, that leads to a much higher rate of insulin resistance. Okay, so this is where GLP-1 does a really important role in lowering our insulin level. Okay, so when insulin level is low, your fat cells is able to shrink. Okay, so this is just one function when it comes to fat management. But there's another function that Unimate also does when it comes to fat burning, right? Which is this. Okay, so there's this particular active ingredient which is chlorogenic acid. Okay, and it plays a really important role to also help our body to burn fat better, right? So this is mitochondria, which is the battery of our cell, and this is the core hub that encourages fat burning in our body. So here we can see CAT1. CAT1 is a protein that will be expressed more when there's fat burning. So once we have more of this chlorogenic acid in our system, okay, it encourages fat burning and up to 24%. So just by taking Unimate alone, at rest, you are burning 24% more fat compared to you like drinking water, right? So I think this is really fantastic. Not just only it increases your GLP-1, help you all your appetite, all that, it also helps you to burn fat better. Okay, so Unimate is really fantastic, and it has a very targeted role in insulin management and especially in the area of fat. Okay, because it's a dual effect. It's not just one. So a lot of products out there is either okay burn fat, then you realize on something else to do the another function. Okay, but Unimate has dual effect. Number one is able to shrink it, okay, due to its ability to clear out insulin a lot more effectively. And secondly, it also helps you to burn fat. Okay, so it's 2 in 1. It's a double effect on fat loss. Okay, so that's the reason why you know, the US, they are very into this when it comes to, you know, fat burning and weight management. Okay, and you know why are they having this new configuration? Is really because of Unimate's ability to perform some of these core functions, right? So with 2 times of the Unimate, okay, what I'm telling you was only 1. So if you take 2 times Unimate, you can imagine double the benefits, right? When it comes to your GLP-1 level. So don't know how many fold your GLP-1 level will be. And definitely it's going to increase your fat burning capacity if you take it. Okay, and remember, this is not any injection, and definitely it's not going to be like, I don't know, 5,000. Okay, and it's just at a very affordable rate, you're able to enjoy these benefits, okay, without any of those side effects. All right, so quick summary, Unimate is ultra concentrated. Okay, that is why our Unimate is so powerful in increasing the GLP-1. Okay, if you go and take the Unimate or Yerba Mate from other place, it won't give you the kind of effect, okay? Because ours is ultra concentrated. It manages appetite, endure 16-hour fast, targets fat cells with fat, support weight management effort, and support your body natural production of GLP-1. Okay, so with this new configuration, all right, it helps you to burn fat better. So if your target is more towards burning fat and you want to, or maybe you feel like you are at this point where you are ready to on a new kind of health challenge, okay, you can try this. Again, I want to stress this again. Our current plan with the two balance and or you BIOS Life S and the Unimate, okay, that is still very good as well. All right, there is a need for that configuration, and there are still people who needs that. Okay, in fact, most of you I know are on that program, right? So I'm not going to say that, you know, there's not one better than the other. So don't be concerned with that. Okay, we received that feedback. Okay, so both of this configuration has its place, and there are different bucket needs and different niches for these requirements, right? This is just a new configuration to give people more options to try, to challenge yourself if you want to, and if in any point of your feel great journey you want to change, that's really up to you. Okay, I just want to make this clear. Right, so how to take this, okay, is actually very easy. So this is, okay, I think everyone knows, okay, in the morning you take this. So the new thing is this, okay, you can take your second Unimate before lunch or after meal. So there is no hard and fast rule. Okay, of course, everybody have their own preferred method. I also have my own preferred method, okay, but I don't want to say it because I don't want you all to just follow me. Okay, I think you all can also try for yourself what works for you best. Okay, some people, they feel that they are very hungry already, right? They may overeat during lunch, so they eat before lunch, okay, just to have more of that appetite control. Some people, they are fine and they feel like they want to have a pick-me-up, or maybe after lunch, they want to fast for another 8 hours before dinner or 6 hours before dinner. So they want to burn fat even more after that, and they have no problem to sleep, then they can take that after lunch. right? So you can experiment both ways to see which one works for you better, and you can switch it up, okay, before or after, and try one for, you know, maybe 2 weeks. After that, the next one to have a good feel about what works for you better, right? So then dinner, of course, is, you know, no brainer. You can just take this with dinner, then you can continue your fast from 8 to the next day, right? So this is how you were to take these 2 Unimate and 1 balance, and yeah, I think it's pretty easy to understand from here. All right, so thank you very much. This is the end of today's presentation. I hope that everyone is able to capture all the facts that I said just now. All right, so before we go to Q&A, these are some details about our next training. So next training is also going to be one, because we make. So stay tuned, and especially for those who are in Singapore, you should attend this training. Okay, what we're going to talk about next session is going to make your feel great experience even better. All right, that's all I can say. Okay, so thank you very much. Yep, so now we are into Q&A. So if there's any questions, please feel free to take. If you have any confusion about the first configuration and this one, please feel free to ask that as well. Okay, for someone who has diabetic, how do they adapt? Okay, I think okay, so assuming this person is already on the default plan, which is 2 BioSlife S and the 1 Unimate, right? So I think for that, right, you have to monitor their situation first. Okay, for diabetics, I think I would prefer them to be on the 2 BioSlife S and 1 Unimate. Okay, because I think the major concern for diabetics is really during their mealtime. So if during mealtime they have this problem to manage their food, all right, and their post-glycemic levels is going to be really high, then they will need 2 Unimate, or sorry, they will need 2 balance. Okay, unless this person is willing to try, okay, and it really depending on how serious is their existing diabetes condition, all right. They can also try fasting and the lunch, okay, then they can take Unimate. They can try that as well. But I would say that there's actually nothing much you need to do if they really plan to switch. They just have to take Unimate before food. So I would say that, okay, generally, if they want to try this new plan, okay, I wouldn't stop them also if they're really curious to try that, okay? And they can be on that for like 1 month to see how it works for them, all right? And to see if having a Unimate and their food with that have better results, okay? So that is something that they can go on with themselves, right? And if they feel that being on these 2 Unimate and 1 balance isn't really working that well for their sugar, then they can always convert back to that old subscription. Okay, so this is something, it's really individual basis, you know. Some people, if this new plan, their diabetes can also be managed. So it's really hard to say. But of course, the general rule is that the concern will be more on the blood sugar post-meal. Right? So if that is the concern, then of course, on default, they will go with that first. All right? Okay, what is the recommended time to take Unimate before or after lunch? They didn't really give us any hard and fast rule, because I did ask them again when it comes to taking Unimate, right? So they say there isn't, but I generally think you need to give it a bit of time. So about like 30 minutes. All right, 30 minutes is a good time for your, for the effect to take in. All right, for the GLP-1 effect to produce and for the appetite suppressant effect to come in as well. So I think, for me personally, I think you need at least 30 minutes or 20 minutes minimum, all right, for your body to be able to produce this result. Will it be more effective to take 2 Unimate and 2 balance a day? Of course, what? I mean, if you can take 2 Unimate and 2 balance a day, I mean, why not, right? I mean, if your pocket allows it, isn't it going to be better? Because you can cushion your food post-meal and you have 2 times the GLP-1. So why not, right? If the person, they can afford it. So of course, it's going to be better, right? Okay, will eating more protein and less carbs affect our kidney? No. I think it depends on what, because I know that protein has a bad rep when it comes to kidneys, and I think that a lot of those kidney problem with protein, I think a lot of them have to do with maybe the controversy may have come from protein supplement, from those exercise protein supplement. But I think there really isn't, unless you're talking about eating really a lot of protein. But I think generally, if you eat a decent amount of protein, I mean, how much protein can you eat a day, right? I think it's just like maybe 2 chicken or maximum 3, which I still think is within. Of course, you have to measure according to their weight and height, but it's not really a problem. And those who have kidney problem, very likely to have other root cause that may contribute to that. So I don't really have much concern on this protein. Okay, and carbs, no, carbs don't affect kidneys actually. All right, so I wouldn't see that as a concern, right, unless they're really eating excessive amount of protein. Okay. Okay, yes, Michelle, yes, we would share the video when it's ready on YouTube. Okay. Okay, hi Sawa, will the benefits still be the same if you take Unimate together with Left as before lunch? What do you mean you mix, is it? You want to mix Unimate and Left S together? Is if that's what you're trying to say, I don't think it's a problem. You can do it as well, but I just don't really know what you're gonna do during your fasting hour. If you're gonna take one Unimate during your fasting hour, or then you want to take the second one Biosaf S with Unimate, is it? I don't think there's a problem. Yeah, you can do that actually. So it wouldn't have much effect. Yeah, I think you could do that also, and that's a great way to incorporate your second Unimate if you want to be on this new configuration. Okay, I've got a question. I learned that ketone source ATP, which we get a lot with Unimate, is cleaner and less likely to produce oxidative stress by ROS compared to glucose source ATP, which means less cell damage while the body is filling up. Okay, in view of this, would FGU plus, okay, all right, it'd be better at preventing oxidative stress, or is that difference not so pronounced if compared to using Fuel Grade Balance Plus? Actually, both also can reduce oxidative stress, because essentially they also reduce inflammation, right? And of course, if you reduce inflammation, you're going to reduce cytokines and all that. I'm not going to comment which is better in this sense, because we can't really confirm that. Okay, this is something that likely we will have to verify with the scientists with research data if they have this. But I do come across that Unimate does reduce ROS, So it could be, yeah, it is cleaner, and it could potentially also lower. But I do not do any comparison. Okay, putting down another configuration, right? But Unimate definitely does help to reduce the ROS, of course, reduce inflammation overall, which leads to better metabolic health, right? Okay, Jensen, if we start, okay, let's start to the day. We can wake up at 12 p.m. plus, and we are going to be having lunch almost immediately. Does that mean we will be having one less Unimate on that day? Unless you mix 2 Unimate together, okay, I don't know if your body can take it. No, it's quite strong. So the solution is try to wake up earlier. Because if you take too late, the only concern is that it depends if you can metabolize caffeine well, then maybe if you take another Unimate, later also you can sleep. Or maybe you just drink the first one, and after lunch, immediately you drink another one. You just give it a bit of gap. Okay, so this is really up to you to experiment. Either you want to mix 2 together and drink one shot, or give it like 1 or 2 hour gap. Right? So it's really up to you to experiment. The only concern is just whether you can sleep at night. That's the only concern. But other than that, fat burning wise, actually, it's not an issue. Okay, is it better to reduce inflammation with Omega Life 3 instead of Fuel Grade? I would say no, because they all have their own individual function and different mechanism. So Omega Life 3, it works by increasing anti-inflammatory aspect of it. It lowers the inflammatory oils that's circulating in our body. So it does have this function, but Feel Great also does the inflammatory function, but through a very different mechanism, through lowering insulin levels, and of course with the Unimate by reducing ROS. Okay, so I really wouldn't say that, but if you were to pair both omega-3 together with Feel Great, then you will have an even better effect of reducing inflammation levels. Okay, so I really wouldn't say which is better, but if you combine both, definitely your effect towards reducing inflammation will be more prominent. Okay, a name not available. Okay, very mysterious person. Okay, a lot of sessions focus on insulin management and fat loss by using Feel Great. How about a person who is rather slim and has cholesterol issues? Is Feel Great and 16-8 intermittent fasting effective for the person? Yeah, why not? Okay, because generally, if you do intermittent fasting, that could also already lower down substantially. And if you have the Unimate, okay, it can also lower down as well and balance with your food. I think definitely it would benefit. I mean, cholesterol wise, if you give it a try, why not? I would say give it, like, if the person has high cholesterol, okay, depending how high also. If you're talking about borderline cholesterol level, then no problem. Definitely just go on it, right? And if you don't want to lose any more weight, then you don't do the fasting. All right, then if you don't want to lose weight, then maybe you can have a light breakfast and you can still eat your normal amount. Don't eat too little because later you don't want to lose weight, right? Because you're already very thin. So you just take the Unimate and the balance as usual. And in terms of food intake, you don't have to monitor much in the amount. But in terms of you're still taking the products to see how it works, I would say there's nothing to lose. Unless the person has very high cholesterol level and it's like off the roof already, then of course you will need medicine already. Right? So I would say there's no problem, just give it a try. I mean, it's just what, 199, I mean, no, 209, I think. Okay, and just give it a shot for like a month to see how it works for you, and from there you decide, okay, whether you would want to go with it or not. All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you everybody. Thank you so much. And I hope with today's session, there's more clarity on this configuration. All right, I want to stress again that there is 2 different ways to take Feel Great. All right, there's really not one better than the other, but it's really depending on your need and which one would work for you. So you can always switch out once you feel that you want to transition there, you want to give it a try. Yeah, please feel free. And if you feel that you prefer the old one, you can always go back. Right, and this is to not give people confusion, but it's to give people choice and more ability to choose and to customize what suits them better. All right, so with that, thank you everyone, and please, I hope that you will attend on the 23rd because we have something really exciting to share with you. Okay, so with that, we've ended today's session. Thank you very much. Bye.